Okay, so the other day, a friend of mine asked me how I am doing, and I did not answer the question. And I realized mid sentence that I did not answer the question, and that irked the heck out of me. So I want to talk about maybe because you may relate to this, that you also find yourself doing what I did, which I'm going to share in a minute, and not really answering that question. And how can we make sure we have answers to that question? And why are we not answering that question? I know I said answer a question a lot in this intro, but just stick with me because it's going to make sense. Let's get into it. My friend asked me how I was doing, and I presented her with how I'm taking the kids to swim and how Sovereign's in a new art class. And I was talking about, going to a meeting to see if, we want to do part-time this kind of alternative self-directed education school. And as I'm saying all these things to her, she's being quiet because she realizes it too. I have said nothing about how I am doing. I talked about what I am doing, and I specifically talked about what I am doing with the kids. And a lot of times we do this. Do you catch yourself doing this? Like somebody asks you how you're doing, what you're doing, and you immediately go to what you're doing for the kids or something adjacent to kids, or maybe for you, if not kids, it's work, or maybe it's work and kids, like whatever we start to define ourselves as, this is how we are doing. And that's not really the question that we're being asked. And it's got me thinking, are we conditioned to answer that question by talking about how work is, or what we're doing at work, or how we're doing with our kids and what extracurriculars we've got them in and what they're doing in life? Are we conditioned to not have ourselves actually be a part of the conversation? Is this our way of proving that we're hard workers or that we're good parents? Like, I feel like it's all of the above. You know what I'm saying? Give me all of the above in the comments if you feel like it's all of the above too. There is a sense that we are conditioned to put our kids or our work or something first as a priority. And the reality is we can have multiple priorities. You can have more than one priorities. And yes, one of those priorities can be work, one of those priorities can be kids, but one of the most important priorities is ourselves. And when somebody asks us how we are doing, we should be able to answer that without guilt, without, if with the flow. It shouldn't be difficult or challenging. It should come to mind what it is that we've been doing for ourselves, how it is that we've been feeling about life. And sometimes we get tripped up and we don't. And one of the things that I loved about being asked that question and being aware of myself and my answers was like, I realized as I'm saying this that I have not answered your question for real, for real. And so I I'm thinking that that is a great way for us to be aware that something needs to shift. Somebody asks, "How are you doing?" And you're like, "Yes." And I took Timmy to basketball practice, and I drove 2 hours to make sure that Kaylee can get her, application in. And then Tiffany asked me, and we're just going on and on. And then at work, Brian had called me into his office for our review, and it's like, no, how are you doing? So catch yourself in the moment. I think that's the first thing, because I caught myself in the moment and it was a catalyst for me starting to think more about what I am doing and what I'm doing for myself. And then me answering that question first and foremost when somebody asks me how I'm doing, that made a big difference for me to be aware that I was doing that. So this is your permission slip, an invitation to be aware of next time somebody asks you how you're doing, which is going to come up in natural conversation. I feel like it's probably the number one asked question in the universe. Strangers ask you on the street, even if they don't care what your answer is. Hey, how you doing? And they keep it walking. But everybody's going to ask you how you are doing. So you'll have plenty of opportunity to realize. I said that really weird, and I heard it come out of my mouth weird. You'll have plenty of opportunity to practice some introspection. Like, how did I answer that question? How do I really want to answer that question? And I think that's the next thing. Did you answer it not, in a way that feels outside of yourself? Okay. Numero uno. And then it's like, okay, how would I like to answer that question? I would like to say how I'm actually doing. What are the things that I'm doing for myself? What are the ways that I am taking care of myself. I want to be like, hey, girl, I got acupuncture the other day. My massage therapist worked out all my kinks. I went to see a chiropractor and they adjusted me. And now I feel like I have a new neck and new knees that actually work. It's amazing. I, went to a dance class that I really loved. I hosted an event for a friend and wasn't that fun? It was a blast. I went to my friend's birthday party. I met up with a friend for coffee and we got to talk about life and this new book that we're reading. This is what I want to say, right? This, what do we actually want it to look like? And when we realize that, we can also start to reverse engineer and start to think about the things that we want to implement into our lives. As you all know, if you've watched a few of my videos, if you follow me on this channel, and the journey that I've been on, and I'm going to take you with me, is in real time, figure out the things that light me up, what it is that I want to do. I really want to infuse more performance in my life again. And I talked to, so update for those of you, I did talk to a friend of mine today because she has maybe some context here where I'd be able to do that. They put on plays and things like that, and I'd be able to do that where the language barrier wouldn't be as much of a barrier. And while I am embracing and learning the language and my goal is fluency, taking a class like that, which is very much verbal, taking an improv class or doing a play in another language is like a whole nother level. Like, let me just get into the world first. Let me just be surrounded by the creative people and be in that space again. I immediately felt intimidated when she said she had someone that she could connect me with who's doing this play. Cause I'm like, wait, I felt the need to be like, I'm not like a professional actor. I took some acting classes. I do enjoy the craft. I would love to be a part of a cool performing project, depending on what it is. I just want to be in the world with other creatives that are doing the thing that I would like to do. And so that is a step in the right direction. My friend also has an acupuncture massage therapist contact. I will be getting those as well. Okay. So I will have some things to say. And for those of you who have watched the videos about my getting into more of a routine and consistency on my movement journey, right? On moving my body in addition to walking, but I had certain specific plans for myself around strength training, core, cardio, and waking up my lymphatic system with jumping rope. I got back into that today. We had to get out of the house, but I did do some stretching and I did jump rope today. And so just having that be a catalyst for like, okay, it was day one, not someday, not one day, but day one of getting back into jumping rope, getting back into stretching consistently. It was sometimey, it was here and there, it was sprinkled in. And I want to get back to that. So that's something that we could talk about. That's something that I talked about with some friends today too, because we're all in a very similar boat of like, what does it look like to make sure that we're the priority, that we have an answer for how are you doing? Sometimes that answer is emotional. Sometimes it's, I'm struggling with this. I am feeling lonely. I am at odds with a really good friend of mine. Sometimes it's that. And even then, we might not lead with those things, maybe because they're personal, maybe we feel like we have to warm up to it, but we don't necessarily lead with it. So, this is just our PSA, our permission slip, our reminder that yes, we can have more than one priority. Yes, we love our kids. We don't have to prove it. To prove like, hey, I'm such a good parent. I'm putting my kids in all these things. And I'm not saying that from a pedestal. I'm saying that as someone who I have to examine, is that why I am always leading with what it is that I'm doing with the kids, and how I'm handling that, as opposed to leading with self and myself, because the question was directly related to me and who I am and what I'm doing and what I've been up to. And you want to have an answer for that, right? That you've been up to something. It could be something quote unquote small or quote unquote big, but something that is your own, something that you're pursuing. And um, we talked about dance classes, we talked about getting movement in our bodies. And then we're like, let's make a plan to do it. Let's execute, my friends and I today, which is great, you know? So yeah, that question you get asked all the time, answer it honestly. Not because you're trying to hide the truth, but because we often are hiding ourselves. We've hidden ourselves away. And we want to come back out. We want to come emerge from out of the shadows and say, no, this is how I'm doing. This is what I've been up to, and have an answer for that question. So just, just hopefully that resonates. It definitely resonated with me today, and I thought it'd be helpful to share it. If you can relate, let me know down in the comment section. And I appreciate you being here. All right. I'm Mani Aisha. I'm here making videos to remind us to stay connected to yourself, to your partner, and to creating the life that feels good to you. If that's your vibe, please subscribe. And I will be more than happy to continue the conversation with you. I would love that. If you've gotten this far, hey, roll call. Let me know down in the comments who you are. Just say hey so that I can see that there's like a person on the other side of these numbers that YouTube gives me. It's always great to feel like, hey, there's people out there that are actually consuming this one sided conversation, how it feels like, to me on this side of the screen. But I imagine you on the other side of the screen. So thank you again. I appreciate you for watching, and I'm going to see you tomorrow.